Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. This is Salim Akhtar Malik, your host at the Observation Post channel. On this channel, we discuss issues of national and international importance, security matters, and important events from military history. You may interact with me at my channel, that is the Observation Post channel, which is on YouTube. The transcripts of my videos are available on solicitation at my Twitter address, which is at Salim Akhtar 53. In this session, we'll be discussing the Chinese cargo ship which got stuck in the Suez Canal and blocked the canal for almost a week, and the implication of that incident on world economies and even the geopolitical situation. We all know that on 23rd of March this year, a Chinese container ship carrying goods from China to the Dutch port of Rotterdam got stuck in the Suez Canal, blocking it for almost a week. That is till 29th of March, when, after a complex rescue operation involving hundreds of workers and Suez Canal authorities, it was refloated. Why did it happen? They say that the container ship, Ever Given was its name, was carrying, as I said, cargo from China, and it was going towards Rotterdam. While reaching the southern portion of the Suez Canal, it stuck the southern end, and it was almost 400 meters long and 55 meters wide. So it got wedged in between the two opposite banks of the Suez Canal. Reportedly, it was hit by a sandstorm which battered it with strong winds and caused this incident. The strong winds reduced, and the strong wind and the sandstorm reduced visibility for the pilot. Now, pilot is a person appointed by the Suez Canal Authority to steer the ship through the canal. So it had become difficult for the pilot to steer it as a result of the low visibility caused by the sandstorm and hence the incident. Normally, as a standard operating procedure, the large cargo ships and container ships, while passing through narrow passageways, do so one by one in order to avoid any mishap. In this case also, Ever Given, the Chinese container ship, would be following the standard operating procedures, but then you cannot obviate or discount the possibility of an unforeseen incident, such as which happened in case of this ill-fated container ship. Now, After the incident, the conspiracy theorists around the world were busy churning up and weaving new and fantastic stories as to what caused the stucking up of the ship in the canal, and was there any other reason besides the obvious reason or the apparent reason for its scuttling. The most fantastic story or theory was that it was a rehearsal for the blocking of the Strait of Malacca in a future war between the United States and India. Now they say that in such a future war, India will be the strategic ally of the United States. And this theory is going on for some time, that the Indians can block this vital waterway which connects the Indian Ocean with the Pacific Ocean. The other theory, the other conspiracy theory which was going around in the world was that Israel, taking the scuttling of the Chinese ship as an excuse, was contemplating building an alternate to the Suez Canal by digging a parallel canal inside Israeli territory, which would link the Mediterranean with the Red Sea. Now, this is a very old project, an old plan going back to the 19th century. So we'll discuss it in a separate video. In this video, we'll focus on the first conspiracy theory or thesis, that the scuttling of the Chinese container ship in the Suez Canal was a rehearsal for blocking the Strait of Malacca in a future war between China and the United States. The Strait of Malacca is a narrow waterway between Malaysia and Indonesia, through which a large number of ships pass throughout the year. Most of the Chinese oil imports pass through this waterway, and these Chinese oil imports are from as far away as South America, from Venezuela, and from Africa, that is from Angola, as well as from Middle East, that is the Gulf countries, Iran, Libya, etc. So all these Chinese oil imports from these countries, as well as other raw materials which the Chinese import, and some manufactured goods, as well as Chinese exports to these countries, would have stopped as a result of, would stop as a result of blocking of this vital navigation channel, which is the Strait of Malacca. It is a fantastic theory within the realm of fantasy, and Chinese know about it. Indians are more excited about it because of some psychological reason or their frustrations on account of the Chinese dealing with them. That is what the Chinese are doing to them and have been doing to them uh, along the line of actual control uh, between India and China. So the Indians want to repay China in this region by blocking the Chinese shipping through the Malacca Strait. But then it does not make any sense for the reason that the Strait of Malacca is not used by China only. It is vital for the economies of the regional countries such as ASEAN, Australia, Japan, and even the United States, and also India. So if the Strait of Malacca is blocked, it will not only block the Chinese shipping, but would also stop all the shipping from these regional countries whose ships pass through the waterway. So what is the fact, or what are the facts? The fact of the matter is that for quite some time, India and the United States are in a tight embrace, and both are very much, they are having many hopes about this relationship. In fact, India is proud of playing poodle, uh, the American poodle in the Indo-Pacific region, mainly for the reason as I have cited above, that is, it wants to repay China for what China is doing to India along the line of control. As I said, it is not possible, it is not practicable for block the Strait of Malacca because all the world economies besides Chinese economy are dependent upon it. So what are the real intentions of both the Chinese and the United States? America, since the talk about the strategic relationship between India and the United States has taken 3 steps. The first step is that it has redesignated the United States Pacific Command as the Indo-Pacific Command. Now, this is a symbolic gesture. However, it is meaningful in the sense that it gives India added importance in the Indo-Pacific region and accepts it, recognizes it as a strategic partner to the United States. The second step which the United States has taken is the planning and organizing of a series of trilateral exercises under the umbrella of the so-called Quad organization. Now, Quad is a security arrangement involving the United States, Australia, Japan, and now India. It has carried out a number of trilateral exercises during the last few years in order to hone and to fine-tune the drills for a future war perceived by these countries uh, against China in the Indo-Pacific region. Now, the third step which the United States has taken in this direction is making India uh, a recipient of the COMCASA compatible equipment. Now, COMCASA stands for Communication Compatibility and Security Arrangement. It includes equipment that is cutting edge electronic equipment, which the United States has provided to its NATO allies, Japan, and Israel only. So it is being used by the United States, NATO allies, Japan, and now it will be provided, rather, it is being provided to India. So what benefit India will gain from it, and also what benefit the United States will derive by providing this equipment to India? It will facilitate the Indian military, all the three services, that is Air Force, Navy, as well as Army, to communicate with each other. That is the trilateral communication as well as the communication within the services on secure networks, which will not be vulnerable to enemy interruption. I'll give you an example that in case of a war between India and Pakistan, or a war between a two-front war in which India would be confronting Pakistan and China, in case an Indian C-130J provided by United States to India, is carrying commandos to launch a raid against targets in Pakistan or China, the commandos would be able to communicate with the advanced ground elements which would be deployed or would be in the vicinity of the target. Presently, Indian Army, Air Force do not have this capability. They do not have the secure networks, and their networks are vulnerable to interception by the enemy. Yet another example is that an Indian Navy P-81 long-range maritime reconnaissance aircraft would be able to communicate with the entire spectrum of India's Air Force and naval assets operating in the region, which may be the Indian Ocean or northern Arabian Sea. So it would be able to communicate with the IAF fighter aircraft, airborne early warning radar systems, anti-submarine helicopters, surface ships, submarines, as well as aerial tankers used for aerial refueling. Now, this would be done through secure networks which would not be vulnerable to enemy interruption or interception. It would also provide Indian services, all the three services, to monitor the activities of People's Liberation Army, Air Force and Navy on a real-time basis and form a comprehensive battle picture for evaluation and execution of plans, and they would provide all this information to their counterparts in the United States Air Force, Navy, as well as Army. So these are the implications of COMCASA compatible equipment. What would the Americans gain? The Americans have tasked the Indians, particularly Indian Air Force or Navy, and Navy, to monitor the Chinese submarine traffic through the Strait of Malacca. That is, Chinese submarines passing through the Strait of Malacca, which would include both diesel electric as well as nuclear submarines. But then if they monitor the movement of Chinese submarines and other assets, surface ships, etc., Chinese would be doing the same, because China is now as technologically advanced, and in some fields more technologically advanced, for example, in the 5G technology, than even the United States. So this will be a two-way affair, and it will not give any advantage to the United States or Indians. But this is what they intend doing. In case of the Strait of Malacca, it is not blocking of the strait, because blocking of the strait, as many Indian think tanks, defense analysts, and politicians say, is something bordering on fantasy. They will not gain anything out of it. Or the most they can do is to monitor the Chinese naval traffic through the Strait of Malacca. Now, in a theoretical situation, in a scenario where if we concede that the Indians would be able to blockade the Strait of Malacca, and then one thing is also there, and that is that excited as the Indians are about the prospects of blocking the Strait of Malacca, the Western think tanks and analysts, that is the defense analysts, are more excited than the Indians. Larry Bond, a British naval author and the creator of Harpoon series of war games, has stated that it will be very easy for India to blockade the Strait of Malacca, and all it has to do is to park its ships at the mouth of the strait. Well, this is not that easy as I've discussed it with you. It will have implications. Now, coming back to a scenario in which theoretically, if India is successful in blocking the Strait of Malacca by, say, parking its ships, as the Western allies say, at the mouth of the strait, China has over the period of time built alternate arrangements. It has created and established alternate arrangements to avoid shipping through the Strait of Malacca. And this it has done in two ways. The first is the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, which links China's western provinces of Xinjiang and Tibet with the Pakistani port of Gwadar at the mouth of the Strait of Hormuz, which is another strategic waterway through which most of the oil uh, going to China as well as the United States pass. So this way, this facility is available and it has been established by the Chinese by spending billions of dollars over the period of years. But this facility is not available to the United States and India. It is only China which will benefit from it in case the Strait of Malacca is blockaded. The second aspect is the linking of Chinese mainland uh, through a railroad network with Europe. So Chinese established this linkage, this rail linkage with the European countries, which will also be available to it in case of a blockade of the Strait of Malacca. So in my next video, I'll be talking about the proposed Israeli canal, navigation canal linking the Mediterranean with the Red Sea. This is all for now. See you in the next video. Till then, bye-bye.